Now I'm going to talk about the questionnaires, discharge instructions, and the reference tool in this video. The questionnaires, we went over that in the owner information. We do have, as a vet professional, access to the seizure log, so if you want to go through and log the individual seizures, you can do that. It's probably a little bit cumbersome for most veterinary professionals, but if you prefer to keep it all within the app, there is that option to do that. And then there's also a seizure questionnaire, and it's the same one that is available to the owners. Same thing for the DISHA questionnaire, the quality of life questionnaire, cardiac caregiver, meningoencephalitis questionnaire. The one that's added is this pain assessment score, and there's a number of different pain assessments out there. This one's going to be kind of modified from the Colorado scale and also the Glasgow scale for pain as well. So this is my own take on a pain assessment score for those that are interested. And again, this is more useful for monitoring over time to see if the treatment that you're using is actually helping the patient. So that's going to be it for the questionnaires. Again, that's pretty straightforward, and all these are open to use. You don't have to, it's not behind a paywall to use the questionnaires. As far as the discharge instructions, again, this is going to be more as general guidelines. I had some help from other specialists as far as creating some very basic templates for you. So if you put in the patient's name, so we'll just put in Avery for right now. They're a male, and we'll say he's neutered. He's a dog. You can put in the weight if you want. You can put in your clinic hospital name, and all that information is going to be filled in different portions of the discharges. So if we put in idiopathic epilepsy and we want to create a discharge, we can see that the patient's name is here. So Avery's been diagnosed with idiopathic epilepsy. There's a little bit of information about idiopathic epilepsy, information about treatment options, and emergency situations. If you want kind of a general outline for some of the medications that's provided. And this is by no means meant to go home verbatim with the owner. This is just more for, here's a general outline, and modify it for what you think works best for you in your practice. But just trying to give you some reminders of, hey, don't forget to think about this when you're talking to an owner about seizure management and idiopathic epilepsy. There's different surgical templates, internal medicine templates, along, again, all kind of having the same idea that, hey, this is a general guideline, things to think about when you're creating your own discharge instructions. And you can put in the name in case you're doing a copy-paste sort of thing. So if there's information about diabetes mellitus that you want to have in there, and then you can export it either as an EasyVet text, a PDF, or as a Word document and save that to the files. So all that information can be shared or uploaded, and then you can edit it for what works best for you and your style. The next section is going to be the reference tools. So we have a list of different toxins. Again, as mentioned before, always call poison control. They're going to be the best option, or poison helpline, as far as determining if something is toxic or not. But I know sometimes there's a waiting period. Sometimes when you look online, if something toxic or not, you can get mixed information. So this is just very general, basic information. If, say, an animal was, maybe they were exposed to acetaminophen, then it gives you toxic doses, lethal dosages of what it is for acetaminophen, treatment options. But again, you should always make sure you get in contact with poison control if you're not familiar with that type of medication. You can search the medications. So you can see there's almost 350 different toxins that we have listed here. And even though that sounds like a lot, that's really nothing in the grand scheme of things. There's so many more, but you could probably create an entire app that just has all this information, but I only have so much information available to me, and that's what I have listed here. As far as the genetic mutations, this is kind of a similar thing to the toxins. I have listed 85 breeds here with different genetic diseases or things that they might be predisposed to. So say we click on the American Bulldog and we can see some of the abnormalities that they're predisposed to. Certain conditions like neuronal ceroid lipofuscinosis or NCL does have specific genes that have been tested for, and you can look at the age of onset for some of these, the clinical signs that can be associated if you're not familiar with them. So if a certain breed comes in and they're having clinical signs that are not familiar to you, this might be a starting point for you to try to look up some information on what might be wrong with that patient. You can also look at specific diseases as well and get information on that. So you can see here in dogs, we have a little over 300 different genetic diseases, and in cats, just a little over 150 different genetic diseases. So maybe you want to know more information about mucopolysaccharidosis, and you can see that information here. It's not a ton. Again, this is, I only have so much information, and you could create an entire app just on genetic diseases, but this is going to be some of the more common things that you might need to be familiar with or need to look up. This is meant to be more of a starting point. But that's going to be it for the questionnaires, discharge instructions, and the reference tools. If you have questions, ideas, concerns about any of these, please let me know. I'm always looking to update and improve the app as best I can. The next video will cover the shared care plan for owners and vets.